Hi, welcome to Chickenwood Studio, episode number 5. Today's Monday, January 25th. I'm Lori, and I'm glad that you've come to join me for this bit of time. For the first time, if so, and if you're coming back from previous viewings, welcome back. I'm glad that you'd like to come and visit with me and talk about knitting, spinning, weaving, making, etc., etc., and hear what's going on here at Chickenwood and, podcast. They're fun. Really enjoyed. Looking forward to making another episode and catching up on others that I enjoy seeing, including a couple new ones to me that I'm going to mention later on today. On Ravelry, I am Piper Mom. My daughter is a bagpiper, and when I signed on to Ravelry years back, we were pretty thick in the business of Scottish games and piping competitions, and that's what came to mind when it was time to pick a username. And it stuck, and it's great. She still plays the pipes. She's a professional piper now, plays for weddings and events, and it's great. So she's New York Piper if you're looking for someone. Let's see. What's next? I wanted to say, oh yes, Instagram. I am LMF Dubois. I don't do an awful lot there, but I do once in a while. I'll put up a finished object or a fun photo, but not a lot. And I wanted to thank a couple podcasters and a blogger for mentioning me recently in their episodes and issues. Fiber Trek, Sarah of Fiber Trek TV podcast gave me a mention, and Sarah's podcast was the first video podcast I had seen. It was last spring, I guess. I was Googling for some information on the Nash Island fleece and Starcraft fiber mills to get their blog site. And Sarah's episode came up where she had visited and interviewed Janny of Starcraft in her mill. And that was so much fun because I know Janny, having bought fleeces from her in rovings years ago, and almost every year in the past 5 years. And so that was like, what a great discovery. So I've finished watching Sarah's other podcasts and caught up. And so thanks, Sarah. Thank you. I look forward to chatting about you a little more down the road today in this episode, because I am reconsidering joining the Shackleton along with a project that I have in mind that really kind of fits the bill for me. We'll get back to that in a bit. And I wanted to thank Catherine of Barbara Black Sheep on Ravelry. Catherine is in Wales. She has a farm and raises sheep, and she has a fiber business as well, an Etsy shop, I believe, and she does a gorgeous blog with gorgeous photographs and wonderful stories, and shares so much about her farming life. And I mentioned her last episode, and the reason I heard from her was because someone who had seen the episode went to find her blog and mentioned they heard of her here. So, excuse me. Hi again, Catherine. Thanks again for that. That was fun. So moving on, I want to talk just a little bit about the Ravelry group for the podcast, which does exist over there. We have 22 members now, and a few people, half a dozen or so, have joined in the last month. And I put on a couple questions recently just to generate some conversation. One being, who taught you to knit, crochet, weave, spin, sew, etc., and your story about that, if you'd like to share. And also what kind of craft or skill or technique you would like to learn this coming year. What are your aspirations of something new? So Alta Lisa answered one of those questions this past week or so, and I wanted to share some of that with you because it was so good. Let's see, here we go. I started about 12 years ago. A friend at work was helping another friend finish a sweater, and I was immediately jealous. I wanted to knit so bad, it looked like great fun. One of my friends gave me some lessons, and I was off. I took a class at the local high school where I worked on a sampler afghan for an aunt. It was a great first project. With each square, I learned a lot of different stitches, and by the time I started to get bored, the square was done. I thought the ladies in the class were a bit loopy. They actually drove all over the state to go to fiber festivals and knitting shops. Crazy. Fast forward a few years, I drive all over several states for the same reason. Who knew? One of the biggest lessons I've learned is never say never. I've also said I'd never spin, and now I have 4 wheels. I just love the friends I've made over the last 12 years. They've taught me quite a bit, not just about knitting and spinning, but about finding and doing what makes me happy. And surrounding myself with positive, productive people has made such a wonderful difference in my life. I hear you, Lisa. I agree. Thank you for sharing that. Those were great words. So true. So, also, well, no, I'll cover that later. I'm going to move right along and tell you that I have a couple finished objects, some whips that are familiar to you if you've seen the other episodes that I've made some progress on, then the Shackleton idea, and something new coming up for the needles, and then a couple new to me podcasts that I have seen. And at the end, I'm hoping to add a little segment about weaving. I'm going to bring you down to my cellar and introduce you to Big Bertha and Little Louie, and talk about the looms for a little bit. So I will, that'll be it. So beginning with the cuppa. This is a mug from Edgecombe Pottery up in Maine. This is, if you can see, the glaze is crystalline. It's some really special process that I don't really know about, except that it's gorgeous. It's really like icy blue on the cream pottery, and it's one of my faves. And today's tea is Yogi, excuse me, Detox. Yeah, I'm trying to make some better choices after the holiday glut. And so it's yummy. It's got a lot of ginger in it, and I kept my tea bag, but of course I've lost it. No biggie. Oh, I found it. Okay, what's in this tea? Because it's really, I have to take off the spectacles to read. Indian sarsaparilla root, cinnamon bark, ginger root, licorice root, burdock root, dandelion root, cardamom pod, clove bud, black pepper, juniper berry extract, long pepper berry, philodendron bark, rhubarb root, Chinese skullcap root, cootis root, forsythia fruit, gardenia fruit, Japanese honeysuckle flower, winter melon seed. Wow. Interesting. Well, it tastes good, it smells good. Hope it's doing something good. The ginger's great, and the pepper. I'm getting over a cold. So that's why I'm a little froggy today. Let's see, here's my first FO that I'm so pleased with. I saw this on the Tilly Trout's podcast a while back, and I knew I had just the yarn for it somewhere. It's the Bluebird of Happiness. Isn't that adorable? It's really tiny. I did it on size 1 Haya double points, and I used some leftover sock yarn. Here's the needles. They're my new favorites. Some leftover Angora blend sock yarn that I'm so glad I saved, because it's perfect for this. Because the little furry wool sort of looks like feathers from a distance. So I think I'm going to hang that probably in my kitchen window, just to remind me to be thankful for all the good things and to put on a happy face. So that was that. And the other FO I'm really psyched about is the Christmas socks for my daughter. Finally done in the groovy sock pattern and the West Yorkshire Spinners Holiday Holly Berry yarn. These are pretty cool sock blockers too. They're really old. I don't even know where I got them. And they're adjustable. I'll take the sock off and show you that you can adjust the length by there's a coil there, a spring, and you can pull in this bar and make your socks a little smaller or larger. So I'm really glad I have these because I like the adjustable part. I can use them for myself, my daughter, and my boys, my husband. And these are just gorgeous. So happy with them. And now she has them for next Christmas. She'll probably wear them anyway. So that was a fun thing to finish up. Some works in progress. I have, well, I didn't even know if I want to show you. The socks, the gloves. I finished one of these naughty gloves. And I thought the second would be like a no-brainer because I enjoyed it so much. But with the holidays, I kind of got out of the mode. And I had mistakes. And so I am finally getting up a little bit through the knotted section. And pretty soon it'll be done, and then it'll just be the fingers and thumbs, which really were not bad at all. It's a very enjoyable knit. If you have the time and the space and the quiet to concentrate on your chart and getting all those cables in the right places and keeping track of what row you're on. That was my challenge. I use highlighter tape across the row on the chart. And it's great if you keep track of which row you finished, and you can always read your knitting to see where you're at, which is really what I kind of rely on. But it just helps me to focus on those 3 rows that I'm working on. That's really helpful. The butterfly hat, I've made some progress on. It was so nice to get back to these things that I had to let go of for the month of holidays. And this is the hand spun yarn from Wales from Hilltop Katie's shop, Hilltop Cloud. And on the screen it looks gray, but it's really a beautiful blend of blues and creamy yellows. And it's a lacy hat pattern. And again, I'm almost done with this part of it too. I just have a few more rows of the lace and I will be able to do the crown and finish it off. So just it was a matter, oops, dropped one, of getting the gift knitting done so that I could get back to what I'm working on. I also knit 2 pairs of slippers for my in-laws and socks for my 2 boys. So those things really kind of kept me busy and away from the projects that I had already started. So that's coming along nicely. The gloves, the butterfly. Oh, and this one. This one I'm really enjoying a lot. This is the Duchess of Devonshire shawl by K.F. Jones from the Bakery Bears. And she designed this lovely shawl and wears it quite often on her podcasts, and just beautiful. And I'm using the yarn from my friend Amy's farm. Her yarn line is called Music to My Hands. This is an alpaca blend, 70 alpaca, 30% merino. And it's a beautiful blue, a dusty blue. And it's sport weight. And actually this will be the top. And here's the body of the shawl. And I've just begun the lacy edging, which is really enjoyable. It is not overwhelming. It looks tricky, but the pattern is so well done. The chart is beautiful, nice and easy to see where you're at. So this lace edging is going to go across the whole needle. So that will take some time, but it's really enjoyable. And the yarn is a dream to knit with. And the high needles, my favorites. So maybe that will be finished by the next time I podcast, and I can wear it for you. Which reminds me, what I'm wearing today is a capelet that I made many years ago. And it's just perfect for today. Just a little extra around the shoulders, warmth. And it was done with an alpaca blend, I think a Barocco alpaca blend, and some kid mohair. The solid brown is the Barocco, and the mohair is a multi. Bring it up closer. It is just such a whoopee. I just love it. It's got natural colors. I mean, they're dyed, but you know, the natural color palette, the grays and the tans, the browns and the blacks. Such a comfort. So that's that. And oh, speaking of natural colors, this is one that I thought I lost somewhere in the Christmas rearrangement. It's the Back Shawl, which I have to get done. I wanted it done for this Christmas, for this holiday, this winter. Hardly is winter. And it's similar in colors to what I'm wearing today. And if it was done, I would be wearing it today. But it's so close. It's just those really short, those really long rows that have so many stitches. They take ages. But I'm so looking forward to having it done. I'm almost there, almost to the edging section. And this is made with hand-spun bats from Starcraft fiber mill. She called them mystery bats, so they're not available anymore. And I think I have just enough yarn to finish this thing. I hope so. It's a blend of alpaca, cashmere, wool, bunny rabbit, Angora. And I dropped the yarn ball. Hang on. So I should get this done as soon as I can so that I can wear it this year. Because winter isn't quite done. It isn't quite here, but it isn't quite done. Which makes me really kind of ready for spring because it's just brown out there with a few spots of white. I know I shouldn't complain because of the people who are suffering and dealing with piles and piles of it. No, so, all right, I'll stop. So that was it for whips, I believe. Yeah, and so one more whip is the thing I'm thinking about for the Shackleton along with Fiber Trek, Sarah. It's kind of an epic project. I started it a while ago, have stopped and started a few times, recast on a few times because of the gauge. This is a Gansey sweater. I'm not looking in the right place. It's a Gansey, and I'm using traditional Gansey wool. And this is from the shop in Cornwall, which the name always escapes me. Phooey. It'll come to me, and if I think of it, I'll put a note on Ravelry if it doesn't come to me before we finish chatting. It's 5-ply Gansey wool. I got it on cones, and I'm using size very small, millimeter, long DPNs. And the knitting belt that I picked up in Shetland a couple of Septembers ago. And it's a great technique. It's a technique that I would like to improve this coming year because it just is, I don't know, once you get used to it, it can be faster and easier on your shoulders. And just the connection to the traditions of how the people knit in Shetland is so cool. When I got home from Shetland a couple falls ago, I did make a hat, a Kate Davies Snawheat hat this way. And it came out great, and I really enjoyed the two colors. I had one color in left and one in the right. And so I thought I would get this Gansey going in the same technique. And I have, and it's coming along. But as you can see, I have a long way to go, and I find that I don't settle in, and this kind of knitting, I think, requires you to settle in. You have to put the belt on, you have to be in a comfortable chair where you have some arm room, and it's a long row. You don't want to put it down when it's half across. It's kind of a big project, and the needles are going to stick out, so it needs a home of its own. Whoops. A safe spot. and you need to have a comfortable place to work on it. But I would love to have it accomplished, finished. So I think that I need something like joining the Shackleton along to keep me focused on it and inspired, and just to let myself take the time to focus on it. I'm way too scattered. That's part of my plan for this year too, is to pare down the whips and enjoy settling in on some things, because that is the way to get things done, right? Yeah. So I think that's it. Either that, or it would be a project on the great big loom downstairs, or maybe it'll be both. I don't know. So I wanted to move along to the next thing, which is something new. It's a new acquisition of yarn and a new project I'd like to do. It's a new knit along, and it is the Tide Pool. Well, no, let me start that over. It's the Kanagawa mitten knit along with Starcraft fiber. And the pattern is by Kristinas Knitting. Gorgeous, beautiful two-color pattern. And the knit along with Starcraft is using their Tide yarn, and she's selling them in kits of 6 different colors of the Tide, which is like DK weight, Starcraft colors of Tide, for these lovely mittens. So I treated myself to this new project. Whoops. When I get a few things done, I'll cast on for the new mittens. And I'm so psyched. And they're in a new project bag that I finished last week. It looks huge. Maybe that's it's just the bigger one, it's the biggest one I've done yet. And it's got a really fun lining. Well, it's just not fun. It's just got some texture. It's not just plain. It's not flat. I think it's a batik from my local quilt shop. And so that's the Tide Pool bag. It's not matching, but I think we can deal with that. I do like to match them too, but that's the way it is. In the sewing room this week, I also tried something new. I did a Notions bag with a vinyl window in it. I really just sort of wung it. I should research on how to do it right. In fact, I did look up on how to install a vinyl window into a sail. And there was this really cool demo by professional sail makers, how they put the vinyl window in their boat. It wasn't a sail, it was kind of on a party barge boat with a canvas side on poles, and they put a vinyl window in so you could see out where you're boating. So I'll make a better one in the future, but what a nice idea. Because I had a plain vinyl one, it was just getting old, and in fact I used the vinyl from that one for this, just to try it out. So it's kind of fun. I'm looking forward to maybe getting a new sewing machine soon, because my old clunker is not very reliable, and it's really frustrating to almost finish a project and then have the sewing and the stitches go kind of haywire, and then you have to rip them out and start over and hope that it's working right. And anyway, if you have any sewing machine recommendations and you want to share those with me, I would love to know what your machine is and why you like it and what you use it for, and that would be really helpful, because I have a few recommendations from friends and relatives, and I'd love to know more before I make that decision. So speaking of the Starcraft knit along, I started a Ravelry group about Starcraft and Nash Island fleece a few years back. I just wanted to share the love of the island sheep and their wool, and Janny's wonderful development and marketing of their wool and dyeing and all that she does. So that is over there, and it's called, what is it called? Starcraft? Oh dear, that's lame. Yeah. Fans of Starcraft? I'm looking it up. It'll come up in a second. So there's a few members in there, and if you're curious or if you have worked with that yarn or the fiber and you want to join in, come on over and say hello. I'm almost down there. Hang on. Nash Island. It's called Nash Island and Starcraft. Oh, it's so slow. Nash Island and Starcraft fiber fans. Rather lengthy. We have 52 members and a few discussions going on, and this knit along especially is fun. So what I wanted to say about that too was that the way that I met Janny and the Nash Island Shepherds was through a summer stay up in that area, and I met the owners of the flock and learned about the original owner of the flock, Jenny Cyrone. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, and learned about the island and the lighthouse, and they shared with me about this video that was put together by the Friends of Nash Island Light, and here it is. And it's called Jenny's Island Life, and it is a delight. It's a treasure to me because it interviews Jenny, and also there's footage of boat trips over to the island and shearing day, and just what it was like for her to live on the island growing up with her family. Just it's a great story. She's quite a lady. I wish I could have met her. So if you could possibly find this online, I'm not sure. If you need help finding it and you're curious, let me know. Or contact Friends of Nash Island Light in Addison, Maine. And you're in for a treat if you do. So let's see. I guess there was, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know. I don't think so. I just thought I would mention a couple of podcasters that are new to me that I found this week. And one is Kristinas Knitting Catch-Up. Kristina's from Australia, and she does some dyeing and a lot of knitting and quite a bit of sewing. And her sewing has really inspired me in the few episodes I've been able to see, and the dyeing as well. She has recently dyed some skeins based on the colorways of birds in her backyard, which are just so incredibly colorful and beautiful. And she really captured those colors in her skeins. So that's Kristinas Knitting Catch-Up, CATCHUP. And the other one is Thimble and Thread Make with Tracy Greenway. Tracy is in England, and she has an Etsy shop and does a lot of sewing as well and knitting. And I just really enjoyed her podcasts. They're fun, and she has so much to share, and really enjoyable podcasts. So, and I love her accent. I love all of them. I love all the different accents around the world, except when I listen to myself. Oh well. Anyway, that, I believe, is about it. And the next up is adding the little visit down to the loom area. 4 shaft and 4 treadle loom. The treadles and shafts were added later. They're not the originals. And here's the warp beam in the back. Let's see, and I look forward to having a project on here, maybe a traditional overshot type of thing. Probably not a coverlet yet. That's a little ambitious, although that was my dream. Perhaps some rugs too. I did a rag rug on another loom similar to this at a Weaving Guild's house, member's house, a while back. And so here she is. Over here is the Louet David loom, which I call Little Louie. This is from the back because I'm warping from front to back for this project. I have gotten the threads through the reed that's on the other side. And now they're going to go through the heddles tied onto back beam. Then I'll turn the loom around for the weaving. This is the cotton silk blend that I'm using for a baby wrap, which is just gorgeous. I can't wait to be weaving on this. It's a long process though, because there's a lot of threads, 30 threads to an inch. And the thing is going to be about 30, 32 inches wide, maybe, because it'll shrink down even to more narrower width after it's done and washed. This is an 8 harness loom, and it has 10 treadles, and it's a countermarch loom, and it's a great loom. It works really well. It's beautifully made. I'm really pleased with it. So that's that. That's a couple looms for today. Catch up with you back on next time. And I hope that you're all well and inspired to keep on working on your projects and pop over and visit and share about what's going on, and get through the rest of this winter safe and sound and in good health. And anyway, I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.